Good evening. Welcome to the 26-27 FAFSA step-by-step presentation that we're going to do tonight, our first one. We've got 151 people registered, so I'm going to wait one more minute, and then we will get started with the program. I'm going to give it another 15 seconds here, and then we'll get started with the program. All right, well, welcome to our FAFSA step-by-step program, our first one that we're doing one a month through February. Really appreciate you taking the time to do this. We are recording it, so some of you might be watching the recorded version. But for those of you that are watching online right now, I did want to mention that the way that we're going to take questions tonight is through the chat box. In fact, I already see one chat that is in there from Co-College. They've got 9 TRIO student support services students are there. That's great. Appreciate you logging in tonight. Actually, before I get going, I wanted to go ahead and just get a practice with this. So for all those attendees right now, can you put down what either high school, college, or city that you're in right now that you're watching this program? For those watching live and using the chat box, can you go ahead and put in there? Osceola, Iowa, Waukee, DMAC, few from Waukee, Ankeny, Esterville. Another from Waukee, quite a few. Cascade, Ankeny, Glenwood, New Virginia, Gladbrook, BV and Iowa State in the house. Cedar Rapids, Delhi, Waukee. Excellent. I like to see all of this. Emmitsburg. And we're going all over the state there. So excellent. Thank you again. Expecting a few more to jump in still tonight, but we've got a lot of information with you. Rock Valley, all the way in Northwest Iowa, Elkhorn. Excellent. I think we've pretty much then got most of the state covered with everybody that we've seen all over there. And again, we hope you'll find tonight this information help you in showing you how to fill out this 26-27 FAFSA form. Now, wanted to let you know that our partners tonight in doing this, the Bureau of Iowa College Aid, IASFA, and us at ICAN putting this on, and we appreciate all of our partners that are here, including as I am going through this with you step by step and showing you screenshots and pointing out some problem areas that arise in filling out this form. The way that you're going to get your questions answered is by putting your questions in the chat box, and then we've got our expert FAFSA step-by-step volunteers from here, from the Iowa Association of Financial Aid Administrators, from IASFA. We've got Joanne from Hawkeye and Mary from Grinnell, Rachel from Luther, Sarah from Iowa State, Taylor from the University of Iowa, Jen from Wartburg, and I am Eric with the Iowa College Access Network. And so as I go through with this, the rest of the volunteers in the chat box are going to be answering your questions. So as we go through this, I'm going to try to go through it as quickly as possible with you and showing the steps, but want you to be able to get your questions answered as we go along as well. So we're not using anything else but the chat box, so please put any questions that you have there in that chat box, and we'll get those, we'll try to get those questions answered for you. All right, and I also wanted to mention that being with the Iowa College Access Network, we're a nonprofit organization that helps students and families. This is our website as well as our phone number. If you need help after going through this tonight, want to work with us either by Zoom or an in-person appointment, you can go to our website or give us a call and set up an appointment with us, and we'd be more than happy to help you in filling out this form as well. So a lot of great resources that you can utilize in the state. and to do. And again, we hope you find this step-by-step program helpful for you tonight. Before I go through the screenshots, I real quickly just wanted to mention that everybody that is going to be what we call a contributor on the FAFSA form, the student and any parent that needs to be on the form, are going to need to get studentaid.gov accounts. You go to studentaid.gov and register an account there. We're hoping many of you have, but if you haven't, that would actually be the first step in completing the FAFSA form. So going to studentaid.gov, and again, every contributor on the form, the student as well as the parent, are going to need to do that. If you're a parent that already has one from a previous student, you won't get or if you've used it for yourself going to college the last 10 years, you won't need to get another one, but each student would need to get their own. So again, really wanted to mention that. Go to studentaid.gov. The good thing now with it, compared to the last couple of years, is you are going to get verified right away. You don't have to wait 1 or 3 days anymore. If you don't have your studentaid.gov account yet, you can do it and still do the FAFSA form in the same day. So that is one of the changes, good changes, that has happened with this 26-27 FAFSA form.
Eric,
Yes.
somebody asking about if the presentation, if they'll be able to access it as a recording. Will you be emailing it out to all the registrants, or how is that going to work?
Thank you, Mary. I appreciate you bringing that up. Yes, I should have mentioned we are recording this. We're not going to be emailing it necessarily to everyone out there, but we are going to put it on our YouTube page. So our YouTube page, ICAN Succeed YouTube page, it will be available on there in the next couple of days. We will have that out there. And if honestly, if somebody gives me an email at edanielson@icansucceed.org, it would be something, a link that I could send to them as well. So you can find my information on our website or how to email me. And anybody that directly emails me, I would also send it out to you directly to the recording. All right. What we're going to do tonight with this scenario is a dependent student inviting a parent. And we'll get into it now, but we're going to start filling out the form with student information first. The FAFSA now is kind of broken up into where every contributor ends up doing their own part. So the first contributor we'll do is with the student. You go to studentaid.gov, and when you get into the FAFSA landing page, this is what you're going to see. You can start a new form, edit existing ones if you'd already started it, now coming back into it, or accepting an invitation from a form from the other contributor who might have started it, like usually a parent accepting an invitation is an option as well. But what we would do tonight by starting the student section is we would click on the box that says start a 26-27 FAFSA form. Now, when it first begins and getting into the FAFSA form, then when you do that, you're going to have a login that you're going to need to do. This is the studentaid.gov account that you're creating. Your email or phone that you verified or the username that you created is what you can put in there for the login and hit continue. And then next, it's going to ask for the password. Once you put in that password and hit login, then it's going to ask you actually, and I'm not showing this part, but it will ask you to verify, two-step verification, either by email or a text message to your cell phone. Once you get that 6-digit code and pop it in, then it's going to go ahead and take you in to saying welcome and your first name there to the form and asking you what your role is. Now, a parent can start the FAFSA form for the student. And if they don't have the student with them and the parent does want to start that, they can complete it that way. We're encouraging people this year, the way it's done and the invite to the parent on how it's going, which I'll show you in a bit with one of the slides here, to actually start with the student information first and invite the parent and then have the parent complete their part. But it can be done either way. In our situation here, though, today, we're going to say and click on the student, that they are the student, and then hit continue. There are videos that you would be able to take a look at. We're not going to go over too much about this because really we're going to cover these subjects that the videos go over. But if you would like to watch them to learn a little bit more, the first video is about what is going to be in the FAFSA form. The second gets into contributors to the FAFSA form and who's going to have to fill it out, what parent information is going to be on there, which again, I'm going to discuss later on with you. actually right now, I wanted to go over it with you, who is going to be considered a parent contributor on the form. If both legal parents are married, we're going to answer questions about both parents on the form. And if both legal parents, I should say, if the legal parents filed joint tax returns in 2024, then actually only one of you would need to get a studentaid.gov account. Now, if both legal parents are unmarried, but they live together, then we're going to answer questions about both parents still. But this would be one example to where if they're unmarried, they didn't file joint taxes in 2024. So each parent in this situation would need to get a studentaid.gov account to be able to complete their sections. And so technically, then that would be 3 different contributors, 3 different parts there that would need to go on the to be able to complete the FAFSA form. Now, if a parent is widowed or single, we're only going to answer questions about that parent, and only that parent would need to get a studentaid.gov account unless the widowed parent would be remarried as of the day you're filling out the form. Even if they just got remarried yesterday, if they're filling out the FAFSA today, then that parent and step parent would need to be included on the form. And my example there, where the parent, if they just got remarried yesterday and now they're filling out the form and they need step parent information, that means they wouldn't have completed taxes in 2024, which 2024 taxes is what's going to be going into this 26-27 FAFSA form. That means both that parent and step parent each would need a studentaid.gov account as well. Now, the big question we've always got to address that we get is when parents are divorced or separated. When parents are divorced or separated, parent that is responsible for filling out the FAFSA form is the one that's provided the most financial support in the last 12 months. If that would be mom, and none of mom's and mom is not remarried, only mom's information is going to go on the FAFSA form. If mom, though, would be remarried as of today, then we've got to answer questions about mom and step parent on the form. Again, even if she was remarried yesterday, if we're filling it out today, we've got to put both mom and step parent information on the form. And if they did not file joint taxes in 2024, again, then both parent and step parent would need to get studentaid.gov accounts along with the student to be able to complete their part. If you have one thing I like to mention right now is it does not matter which parent claimed a student on their income taxes. Does not matter at all. The way we determine when parents are divorced or separated is the one that's provided the most financial support. If a parent says that that is actually equal, we both provide the same amount of financial support. Sometimes we might look at, okay, are you sure? Does one have them on their insurance over another? That could be a tiebreaker. But if it's truly equal, then the parent that we're supposed to use is the one with the most income and assets. Parent with the most income and assets when it is a tiebreaker in that situation. If you have any questions on this about what parent needs to be on the form with your situation, please ask our experts in the chat box. This is always a big one, and there are misconceptions out there about that. So we want to make sure to be able to give you the right answer that you need for your specific situation. Now, another onboarding video is going to be what to expect, kind of what to fill out the form. I'm going to show you that here as well. And then a little bit about after you submit the FAFSA form, what to expect. And I'm also going to talk about that when I make a last call for questions that you might have within the program. So getting through that, the first thing that we're going to take a look at is dependent student identity information. Now, with this identity information, what we want the student to do is just to verify all of it is correct. You know, name, date of birth, social security number, email address, their mobile phone number, and permanent address. If anything has to be changed, then they actually have to get out of the FAFSA form and go to their account settings in studentaid.gov, which is located in the top, it will be on their dashboard of the top right-hand corner. They'll be able to get in the savings actually where their name is listed and get into that. And it's when they see that within the settings, they would be able to get in and make any corrections with this information here. So it's not actually done in the FAFSA form. They would need to do it in their account settings first and then get back into the form to complete the rest of it. Now, if it does look good, then we just hit continue. and we move on to the state of residence question. On here, they're asking about their state of residence, so they'll select the state from the drop-down box. Majority I know it's going to be Iowa that you're going to put within here, and then the month and year that you became a resident. If a student was born here in Iowa, then they're going to put their month and year of their date of birth down. After we put their state of residence and hit continue, then it's going to get into providing consent and approval. Now, this page informs the student to be able to get federal aid or apply for federal aid. They must give this approval to use the federal tax information, getting it directly from the IRS. Even if they didn't file taxes in 2024, students are going to need to give this approval. And in fact, parents, you'll be asked the same thing when we get to your part. Every contributor that is on a student's FAFSA form must give this approval for their tax information to be able to be brought in from the IRS. Now, once we do see that, and you see it over here on this screen, actually, there's a long list of things to be able to take a look at. But at the very end, you would hit approval. And what we're hoping for is, as it's trying to transfer that information over for help in your finance section, trying to securely put that in, um, we're hoping to see a green success box that is on there. Now, for purposes today, this is going to say, sorry, they couldn't retrieve it. And occasionally that's going to happen to people on there. What that means, though, if they're not able to retrieve it, that doesn't mean, oh, you didn't file, although for some students that might be the case and they didn't. But if you're not able to retrieve it and you did file taxes, whether the student or the parent, when we get to your part, it means we're going to have to manually put in your tax information. So one thing I do want to mention right now is, if you are going to a FAFSA event as a family or getting help, for example, from anyone, including us at ICAN for any appointments, we do want you to bring in your 2024 tax information. We think the majority of you are going to be able to bring in most of your taxes electronically, but there can still be some questions occasionally where we need to look at the taxes, as well as if you have this situation right here to where it can't be brought in, then we have to manually put in the information. Early on with this 2627 form, we have had some families who could not bring in their tax information. A lot of them we're seeing are ones that had um, business income involved within their taxes. Not everybody that's had business income hasn't been able to do it, but we've seen some that haven't been able to do that before. So make sure to have your taxes there just in case if you have to manually put them in, whether you're doing it yourself or if you get any help from any appointments. Now, whichever way we see it, whether successful or sorry on that, we're still hitting continue. And now we're getting into dependent student personal circumstance questions. Really, this is going to be determining whether or not that they are independent or dependent still upon the family. The majority of high school seniors are going to still be considered depending on these questions that they are asked. The first one is about their marital status. And you got a lot of different options here. For this student, though, we are going to say that they are single, never been married, and we hit continue. If they had been married, that is one thing that can make you an independent student, but in this case, they're still single. Now, it is also going to ask next about their college or career school plans, what grade level that they're going to be in college. I'm assuming the majority of you, this is going to be first year freshman next year that you're filling out, although there could be some of you as students that are in college and you're filling it out. You might be second year or looking other graduate into the next year, but it is asking about what the 26-27 school year you're going to be. So not where you're at now, but what you should be beginning next year, your grade level there. For those of you high school seniors that have taken college credit ahead of time, even if you've got a lot of college credit that could move you beyond into a sophomore year, we have still been told still put down first year freshman since you're still in high school and have never officially attended college yet before. Chances are majority of you are going to put no down, whether or not you got your first bachelor's degree yet before the 26-27 school year begins. So you would include no on there and then hit continue. Now we get into the rest of the personal circumstance questions. These questions are going to be asking the student in this list, if you're currently serving on active duty in the armed forces for purposes other than training, if you're a veteran of the armed forces, if you as a student have children or other people, excluding a spouse, who live with you and they're going to receive more than half their support from you from now and through the next year between July 1 of 26 and June 30th of 27. At any time since you turned 13, were you an orphan or ward of the court or in foster care? If you were an emancipated minor determined by a court in your state of legal residence, or an illegal guardianship with someone other than a parent determined by a court in your state of legal residence. Now, the majority of high school seniors, and for our example, we're going to answer none apply in this situation, and then hit continue. The next question then ask, at any time on or after July 1st of 2025, were you unaccompanied and either homeless or self-supporting as being homeless? Again, we're going to say no here and then hit continue from this button, but do want to point out that if any student would answer yes to one of these questions or be able to check one of these boxes on here, that would make them an independent student. Ward of the court, in foster care after the age of 13, be an orphan, homeless situation. Those are the ones for a lot of high school seniors we see that if they can answer yes to any of these questions, it would be one of those. If that would be the case, they would be independent. They're not going to need parent information on the form. The college or colleges that they list on the FAFSA are going to ask for documentation later of that, but they would not need parent information on the form. Now, again, though, for our purposes today, what we're going through, we're going to say none of these apply and hit continue. As we move on and hitting continue from there, another question is going to be asking if the student has unusual circumstances, preventing them from contacting parent information, or that would pose a risk by contacting them to the student. It really does have to be that's listed on there, some extreme cases. I'm not going to get into too much with the specifics on that. If any student or family feels like that they have right now a situation like this, please talk to or ask a question to one of our experts in the chat box on there. But for these purposes today on what we're going to be doing, I'm going to hit no and continue from this question. And then the last one is asking, are parents refusing to provide information on your FAFSA? So do you only want a direct unsubsidized loan? Say no on this. By answering no to all the personal circumstance questions, as a student, you're going to be a dependent student, so we're going to need parent information on the form. Hopefully the parents won't be refusing any of that. If you ever have questions, if parents are refusing, you can talk to your colleges about that. But just by parents not refusing to provide information on the form will not make a student an independent student. It really has to be an extreme case for them to be able to be deemed in any kind of unusual circumstance by a college, abusive environment, parents are incarcerated, things are some examples like that. So want to encourage every parent, include your information on the form. It technically doesn't hold you to have to pay for anything for the student on there. It will only help them in trying to get financial aid. And once we hit no here and hit continue on, now we're going to get into some student demographic information. It's going to ask the student sex, male or female, and then continue. It's going to ask about the student's race or ethnicity within there as well. They can answer that, and then there are also subcategories that they can include too. After they answer that question and hit continue, it's going to ask about the student's citizenship status. For our example here, we're going to hit U.S. citizen or national, and then hit continue. But I do want to tell you that to be eligible for financial aid, a student has to be a U.S. citizen or national or an eligible non-citizen. Some examples of being an eligible non-citizen would be someone with an I-94 form, with an arrival departure record of asylum granted, or a refugee. If somebody has a conditional or a permanent green card, they're going to have a UCSIS number, also known as an alien registration number, 9-digit number that they would put down on there. But that would be a couple examples of those that would be eligible non-citizens. For those that are neither a U.S. citizen or an eligible non-citizen, which would include students that might be here still holding DACA cards, or students or families that are here on visitor visas or other type visas, generally they're not going to be considered eligible non-citizens and would not be eligible for federal or state of Iowa aid. And for the most part, and I don't know of any colleges in Iowa that would would be requiring it for their institutional aid wouldn't need to fill out a FAFSA form. But if you have any questions on citizenship status, you can certainly ask that within our chat tonight or get a hold of the colleges or us at ICAN later. But wanted to give you a brief idea of that tonight when we were visiting this slide.
Aaron,
Yes,
we've
yes.
had it come up a couple of times about whether the FAFSA recognizes common law marriage. And we've been advising them to do the unmarried living together option for marital status, but is there a better answer for that?
Um, Actually, what I would say is on that is if they actually file taxes together, I would go ahead and put married on there. If they file joint taxes, then only one would need to. I actually had that question come up and I had to do a Google search on it just to be reminded of it. Not being a tax expert with the common law marriage, I'm not even sure if they can file joint taxes, but I thought I had seen that they were able to. And so if you file joint taxes and you're under a common law marriage, and Iowa does recognize that, I think they can put married down on there. That's a very good question, and it might be one, if anybody has a chance maybe to Google that real quick just to see what it else says, if it says something differently. But I did have that question um, um, just in the last couple of days, and I believe since Iowa does, especially here in Iowa, does recognize that if they file joint taxes or if they're able to file married filing jointly based on that, then I would put that down just so since they filed jointly, only one of them would need the studentaid.gov account and to be able to bring it in. Any of our experts that are on there, if you thinking differently of that, please chime in and let me know. But that is what I have kind of, I think that you can do. If they didn't file joint taxes, quite honestly, Mary, they're going to get to the same part, even if they put that down there where both parent information is going to be included. But I believe they could actually file with a common law marriage that they could put that down as being married.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great questions. Keep those kind of questions coming. This is awesome. And as you can tell, there are going to be times where we even need to do some checking on some of the questions that we don't deal with all the time. So very good question. Next question we get into on the form is parents' educational status. Just depending on, if you don't know, you can put that down, but whether neither parent attended, one or both attended, or one or both parents completed college, on there we list, put that checkbox in and then hit continue. Whether or not a parent was killed in the line of duty, on there, serving on active duty as a member of the armed forces on or after the events of 9/11, or performing official duties of public safety officer on there. Once you answer that question, then we click continue, and it asks about the student's high school completion status, what they're able to receive if they did get a high school diploma, like our example here, and we hit continue, then it's going to have to do a search to put in their high school that they're there. Occasionally we'll get it to where if we can't find something, you would be able to manually put it in, but initially we would encourage you to search for your high school within there, and then and find that and click on the box to move on. It'll have you confirm one more time within there after you click on, when you do find it, make sure that it is correct. If it is, then we'll move on and hit continue from there. Now we're going to get into the student financial information. With the student's financial information, it'll ask them if they did file taxes. Even if if a student has a successful IRS data retrieval, or it says successful, if they did not file taxes, it's going to ask them this. Chances are they probably didn't file taxes then, and they would put no down. But if you remember on our initial, when we hit approval, it said it wasn't successful. Well, then this question will definitely come up at that time too, if it's not successful on there. This question will not come up if it's successful and you did file taxes. It'll actually jump into just a couple of other questions where most of the other ones would be brought over. So in other words, this could look a little bit differently, hopefully with your situation, because we're hoping that most of you that did file taxes, your information will be brought over directly from the IRS. For our example here, though, we're going to put yes, the student did file taxes. And so if you have to manually put in your information, then it's going to ask about filing status, um, income earned from working, and it gives you the line numbers to go off of with your tax forms where to look at. The earned come in from work, they want you to look at line 1Z, as well as if you have a Schedule 1, looking at line 3 or 6, which is business income and farm income. Now, folks, if you only have just line 1Z and have no business or farm income, then it would just be the 1Z on there that you would include. And for students, that's usually the case. It'll also, if you take a look at this, be asking about untaxed portions of IRA distributions and pensions, adjusted gross income on line 11. You're not going to have everything on here if you manually put it in and you put zeros in for the questions that you do. Income tax paid on line 24 of your 1040. Did you receive an earned income credit, which is line 27 of the 1040? IRA deductions, education credits. Did you file a schedule A, B, C, E, F, or H on there? And you need to look at your 1040 from there. This is, you can see why, especially if you are not able to transfer your information over, why we would still need the 24 taxes. So make sure you have them just in case if you have to manually do this. Net profit from loss of IRS Form 1040 Schedule C. And then the last two questions that are on here, on that second side here, the amount of college grants, scholarships, or AmeriCorps benefits reported as income to the IRS, and foreign income exclusion. Most families do not have that, and they're going to be zero on the form. The amount of college grants or scholarships or AmeriCorps benefits, if a student would get more scholarship money above and beyond what their tuition and fees are, then that they have to report as income on their FAFSA form. So occasionally we can see that, and we would need to list that amount down here on this part. But why I wanted to bring it up is these two questions at the end. Even if the tax information is brought over, this is asked. All of this all these two questions for sure are going to be asked to you. And if they are zero, for the majority of families they would be, you would just put that down and enter continue as well. So if your tax information is brought over electronically, most this other things are going to just be transferred over and you're not going to need it, but those last two questions would be included. After you answered the questions for your tax returns, then it's going to get into your asset questions. It's going to ask, these are all as of the day you're filling out the form: total balance of cash savings and checking, current net worth of any of business, or excuse me, current net worth of investments, including real estate, but not the home that you live in, and current net worth of business or investment farm value. Now, they usually apply more to the parents. I mean, checking and savings, the student's going to have some of that. We put 800 in here for this example, but if they don't have any investments or business or farm, we would just include zero. I'm going to go a little more in depth into the assets when we get to the parent side, because it usually applies more to the parents than it does the students. So I will address that a little bit more. If you have any asset questions, please put them in the chat box, but I'll address that a little bit more in just a bit. After we enter in the student's assets and hit continue, then we put down what colleges that the student wants the information sent to. So we hit continue, and we can do a search by state, or if you know the federal code already from the college, you can enter it in that way as well. Up to 20 colleges is what a student could list down on their FAFSA form. So once you do the search, you select the ones that you want. Again, if you know the codes, it'll do the search for you that way. And any schools that you want to include in, you would just hit selected up to the 20 that you want to do. At the very end, before you move on, it'll just have you double check to make sure you've got all the colleges that you list. If you come to this point on the FAFSA and you need to add another that you forgot about, there is a button down below at the very bottom here, search and select more schools, to be able to keep adding on up to those 20 colleges. Once we've listed the colleges and schools down, one of the last parts that we're going to do before we submit the student part of this FAFSA form in is to invite a parent as a contributor. We hit continue on here, And this year, what it's going to ask for is just the email address for the parent contributor. So send the email address to the parent contributor. Once you enter that email and hit send invite, it will double check just to make sure, hey, send an invite to this email address. They just want to make sure. You click send invite again, and there's an invite that's going to be sent to the parent to allow them to access, to be able to log in and give them an access code to be able to put their part, mesh it in with yours. They're going to get that, accepting that invitation, this invitation link and invitation code with the parent. When they put the code in, it'll match up with the student's FAFSA form as well to be able to complete that parent part. Now you see down below here on the code itself is going to be listed. I know at ICAN, when we're helping students and families, I've been just writing the code down and then logging in with the parent studenta.gov account, and there's a place to put the code in right away. But for those of you at parents, you will get the email, and it will actually be a link that you can do to click on that to accept the code and then log in and complete the parent part for the student too, which we're going to go over here in just a second. But this makes it, I will tell you, this makes it a lot easier in being able to invite the parent contributor. The last couple years on the invite, we had to put the parent's name, date of birth, social security number, and it had to exactly agree as what the parent had under their studenta.gov account. Well, sometimes parents where last names has changed and things on there, or they put something accidentally wrong even in the date of birth, but it still matched up everything else for them. The invites weren't always easy to send. This is making it a lot easier to invite the contributor to the form and then be able to complete their part. So another change that has been nice to see. Once we have that done, now you can just look over the information to double check it. You can get into the personal identifiers, the personal circumstances, demographics, financial, and the colleges themselves. Make any corrections you need to make before you submit it. But if everything looks good, it'll even show the contributor and that invite code again for you on here. But if everything looks good for the student, we're going to hit continue, and they're going to sign and complete their section. By signing this, they're stating that they're going to use the federal and state aid only to pay for cost of attending an institution of higher ed, that they're not defaulting any loans, don't owe any money back on a federal student grant, and they'll notify their school if they are in default of a loan and not receive Pell Grant from more than one school either. This is what they're signing for to be able to complete their part. So we're going to have them click on the box that says I and then their name, agree to the terms outlined above. You hit sign, doesn't say submit yet, because not all the contributors have completed their sections. So it does just say sign, and then they're going to get this notification, pending submission, check with your other contributor, your parents, but the student part is complete then in this case. So now once we've completed this student part, we need to complete the parent section as well. So to do that, and there is more information that a student can take a look at when their part is completed too, that you can look over. But this is what the parent email is going to look like that you get. Just to give you an idea and being able to accept the invitation, it's got that access code that is in there now. When you accept the invitation, it's going to take you to studentaid.gov, and you're going to be able to log in with your email, phone, or username, and then also your password. 6-digit code will be text or email to you, whichever one that you want, with what you have verified. Once you two-step verify that, then it's going to ask you for that invitation code in there. You put in the invitation code that you received. When you put in the code and then hit submit, it's going to ask you, hey, by accepting this invitation to, then the student's name, first name, and first initial on their FAFSA form, you agree to share your information. You hit accept on that, agreeing, sharing your information, and now you're getting into your section of the FAFSA form. It will also take you through the onboarding if you want to see the videos in the parent part about what is the FAFSA, contributors to the FAFSA form, what to expect, and after submitting the form as well. So another place where you can see it as a parent if you weren't doing it with your student to get that information too. Just like within the student part, this is all going to look very similar, except it's asking you now as the parent or parents that need to be on the form your information, your identity information, just to double checking in with that, as well as permanent address. Just like with the students, if there's anything that you need to change within there, you actually have to go into your account settings on studentaid.gov to make that change and then come back in to fill out the FAFSA form. It's going to, in the very beginning, as a parent, it's going to ask you to provide your consent and approval as well in having your federal tax information brought over from the IRS. So just like what we did with the student, this is all going to look very similar. In that bottom right-hand corner, you will hit approve to do that. Again, every contributor that is on the form needs to give their consent and approval to have their taxes try to be brought in electronically from the IRS. You get the same message, securely importing. We're also going to do the example to show you in filling it out online. It's going to say sorry. We hope you get a successful green box instead, the majority of you. For right now, this example does say sorry, so we can show you again what will be asked. We hit continue on air, and now we're getting into parent demographic information. What's the parent's marital status is going to be. So depending, for our example here, we're going to put married, not separated down on here, but the different examples are listed on there depending on the parent current situation. Hit continue. Now, if the parents are married, it asks for state of residence. What we're talking about here is the parent that you're using the FSA ID for. So if mom's filling it out, not dad here, this is mom's information, then you would put down the state of legal residence of mom and the month and year, since it's her FSA ID, studentaid.gov account, you're using the month and year that she became a resident of that state. Once that's answered and hit continue, it's going to jump now into the parent finance section. It's going to ask the parents, I know this is a little bit hard to read, but it's going to ask at any time during 2024-25 if the parents had any of these family benefits from federal programs, including the Earned Income Credit, which is on line 27 of the 1040, federal housing assistance, free or reduced price lunch from school. So again, this would be parent or anyone in the family received these benefits in 24-25, including the student. Medicaid, refundable credit for coverage under the qualified health plan or health insurance subsidy, SNAP or food stamps, supplemental security income. So not Social Security benefits, but supplemental SSI, supplemental security income, PAMF or WIC, for examples. If none apply, we click on none apply. If any family, though, any family member would receive any of these benefits and you'd click on one, that actually, this is a federal means tested where basically you will not have to put down assets later on. If one of these, at least one of these boxes are checked, you will not be asked for assets later on. For our example here, though, we're going to see the parents, none of this does apply, and then we're going to hit continue on there. It will ask if the parents filed taxes, only if it was unsuccessful. It won't ask this if the IRS data retrieval was successful, but since it wasn't, then it asks if the parents did file. And then even if the IRS data retrieval was successful, when parents are married, it will ask whether or not you filed a joint return. If they did not file a joint return in 2024, that means the other parent's going to need their own studentaid.gov account. And at the end of this part, a parent would invite the other spouse to be a contributor on the student's FAFSA form too. That's not the example we're going to give tonight, but I did want to mention that that is something could happen. For our example, we're going to say the parents did file a joint return in 2024 and then hit continue on there. It's going to ask for the family size down here. Now, if your IRS is successful in bringing it in, the first question it's going to ask you is if the amount of people that you claimed on your 24 taxes is the same as the family. So is it different? If it's not, you would put no down. If it's yes, then you would get this question about family size. Since our IRS data retrieval wasn't successful, they ask it right away about the family size. They've already got the parent spouse, and then the student in there, but are there any other children or dependents who live with the parent and will receive more than half their support from them between July 1 of 2026 and June 30th of 2027? If there are younger siblings that are there, or maybe even older ones still that fit this category, you would put that amount down. For here, they put two more, so that made the family size 5. After you put down the family size and hit continue, then it's going to ask you about the number in college. For our example, we're just putting one down, but if any of you as parents have more than one student in college, you would list two down or three, however many that's going to be. You do have to do a FAFSA form for each student, and you're going to get an invite from each student as a parent and do each student, the parent part for each student as well. So kind of a rinse and repeat on that when you have multiple students in college. But on each one, you will list the number in college down. This is good information for the colleges to know. As of now, like the last couple of years, it does not give any kind of a break in your student aid index, what they feel you could contribute as a family, but still a questions that's to be asked that sometimes can be helpful, maybe with institutional aid at a college. When you include that and hit continue, now we're getting into the actual tax information, just like what we saw with the student. I'm hoping the majority of you will not see all of this and you only see the last two questions again on the right-hand side here, the amount of college grant scholarships and AmeriCorps benefits reported to the IRS or foreign income exclusion. But again, if it's not successful, then you're going to need to include the filing status, income earned from work, taxes, interest income, education credits, and other things that are listed down on here, just like what we had shown you within the student section. Again, the good thing is it does give you the line numbers to go off of or to take a look at if you have to manually put that tax information in there. And then once you've entered in the tax information, just like it did with the students, as long as you didn't have any of those federal means tested benefits or a low enough income not to include assets. Sometimes assets can be skipped because of that as well, even if you don't have any of them federal means tested benefit questions that applied either. But if you are needing to put assets down and they show it, here's the page again, just like what it was with the students. Another question though that is on here is annual child support received. Any parent, if you have child support that you received, what you would put down is what you received for the last complete calendar year. So right now, if you're doing it in October, November, December of 2025, the last complete calendar year would be 2024, what you received in child support. If you complete it next January or February of 2026, then 2025 would be the last completed year, full year. And so you'd put what you had down in 2025. So what it means by completed year really depends on when a student and family completes the FAFSA form, what you'd have to list down on there. Now, if you do not have any child support that you did receive in the last complete calendar year, then just like with the example here, you would list 0 down. And then the three asset questions, the balance of cash savings and checking, net worth of investments, net worth of business, and farm value as well. Let's take a look at those, especially those last two, a little bit harder. When it's talking about a business or a farm, what you would need to include, if you had to include it, would be the net worth of the business or farm. That includes the land, building, machinery, equipments, inventories, all of that. This year, though, there is an exemption that has come back that it wasn't there the last 2 years like it had been. If you're a small business owner and you have less than 100 full-time employees, you would not have to include that business down as an asset on the FAFSA form. The income plus or minus, that's already going to be in your tax part and counted. But as far as an asset, that would not be included if you had a business that had less than 100 full-time employees. As far as a farm, if you live on and operate a family farm, you do not have to include that farm down as farm value anymore. Those were exemptions that were around for a long time, except for the last couple years of the FAFSA. They have now come back here in 26 and 27. If you have any specific questions on that, please let our experts know in the chat box there. Or if you're watching this recording, contact us at ICAN or any school that you're talking with as well to make sure you're not including any more than you need to. But these exemptions have come back now this year, and we wanted to make sure to let you know that. A lot of Iowa families, businesses, and especially farms that had to put some things down maybe the last couple of years that they're not going to have to this year if they live on and operate the family farm. I should mention, if you have farmland you own, but you're not operating yourself, that's going to be considered an investment farm. And again, they're looking for net worth value of it minus any debt that still might be against it. If there is no debt, then it would be the current value that you'd put down. As far as investments, these are investments that you would have to include with that investment question. Again, even on the student side, but it usually, again, applies more to the parents. So that's why I'm bringing it up now. But not the home that you live in, but other real estate, rental properties, for example, net worth value minus debt, trust funds, even if you can't touch them until later, whether student or the parent, trust funds need to be counted unless they might have been designated in a court case for future surgeries due maybe to an accident or something. But majority of trust funds, even if you can't touch them until a later time, would need to be counted as an asset. Money market, mutual funds, CDs, UGMA and UTMA accounts, stocks, savings bonds, 529 plans. Did want to specifically mention 529 plans. If you're a parent that has a 529 plan for your son or daughter, it is an asset that needs to be counted. But for a 529 plan, you would count it on the account owner side. And as a parent with a 529 plan, you would be the account owner if you're saving up for them. They would be the beneficiary. So you would count it on your side as a parent, and you only count now 529 plans for the student that you're filling the FAFSA form out for. In the past, you used to have to count any where you're the account owner. Now you only have to include for the student that you're filling the FAFSA form out for. Now, if there is a grandparent or an aunt or uncle that is saving a 529 plan for a student, they are the account owner. And there's nowhere here on the FAFSA form we have to count grandparent or aunt or uncle's assets on the FAFSA. UGMA and UTMA accounts are looked at a little bit differently the way they're set up. The student, if they have one of these, are considered the account owner, even if they can't touch them right away. So they would go on the student side. UGMA or UTMA accounts, the student would be considered the account owner, even if they can't touch them yet till a later age. Any asset questions you have, again, please ask our experts in the chat box. Did want to mention, though, the good news, the investments you do not have to count. Your principal residence, home that you live in, and then also retirement accounts, life insurance values, and there are other things listed on here as well. But the home that you live in and retirement accounts are not assets you would include on the FAFSA form. In fact, you don't even have to count your untaxed portion that you put in for a tax year that's being asked anymore into like a 401k that you used to have to. So nowhere here on the form where you have to count any retirement accounts as an asset at all to list on the FAFSA. So if you, again, have any other questions on that, please put them in the chat box, but those are not to be listed. Once the parent has included their investments down, then if there's two parents and they did file jointly, what they're only going to ask for the parent spouse information now is their date of birth to help determine some of the calculation students' eligibility. In the past couple of years, they've been asking about the name and email address, date of birth, and social security number. Now they're only looking for the parent spouse date of birth, the spouse's date of birth here. So you'd include that in and then hit continue. And now we're at the part where you're almost going to sign the form and submit it. You can double check any of the personal identifiers, demographics, or financials one more time to make sure and expand these categories. If you need to make a change, to go back in to do it. So we would encourage you to just to double check to make sure that all that information is good. But if it does look good and you hit continue, now you're going to sign and submit the form, verifying the accuracy and that you've did everything that you need to require to file that. You'll click on the box down below, and actually it's been kind of cut off. I'm sorry about that, but there's going to be a button once you click on the box that says sign and submit. When the very last contributor is ready to submit, the other contributors have got theirs in this case, the student already did this, and there's only one parent that needs an FSA ID because they filed joint taxes. It's going to say sign and submit. Once you click on that, it's going to say, congratulations, the FAFSA form is complete. Now you see here, not all the information on a confirmation page is included if any of you have looked at them in the past. There would be an email sent to the student with more information also saying that their FAFSA is complete and notifying them. It might be something as parents that you encourage your students to share with you just so you can see a little bit more information about that within that confirmation page that they receive. But now the form is completed and done. You've got the processing in. So what I want to do now is just to kind of quickly share with you a little bit about what to expect from there. So kind of putting out a last call, if I can, with the FAFSA or with all of your questions that you might have still in the FAFSA form. But just for a few minutes, I wanted to let you know kind of what is going to happen next. What's going to come next is once you complete a FAFSA form, it takes about 3 or 5 days to be processed. And then the student is going to get notification that their FAFSA submission summary is available. This is all the information you put on the FAFSA, an overview of the answers, school information, even giving some next steps as well. So you can review all this information, the student can, and double check it, but it is going to go to them. They would need to log into their studentaid.gov account to be able to access this FAFSA submission summary. It's also going to give them a little bit about an eligibility overview, whether or not there is any Pell Grant that they would be eligible for, or federal direct loans that they might be able to get. Work study, usually it will say on there that they may be eligible. That's always determined by the colleges anyway, but just giving them some information on there, including about if you see on this right-hand side in making a correction. If something needs to be made, they can click on that and go in and make a correction. But if everything looks good, then really at the same time that you receive this FAFSA submission summary, every college that you listed down are eventually going to be able to pull in your information to get the results, and they'll let you know if they need anything else from you. A big part of the overview or what it's going to let you know on this FAFSA submission summary is what the student aid index is. That's giving an idea. That's the amount of money they feel you could contribute as a family, whatever that number is. There can be negatives on there, but whatever that amount of that number is, that's the amount of dollars they feel you could contribute, which helps the colleges that you listed on the form to determine a student's financial need, and then from there, how much financial aid that they're going to be able to receive. So again, form answers and just going through it, things that it's going to show you on there. You can click on each box and show, even give some school information that is included on there as well. Some of the next steps that they'll mention is about correcting any errors, make sure the schools have anything they need. If they do need something, the schools will be in contact with you. So I know the colleges and universities always want to have us encourage students and families, read any email or documentation, any mail that you get from colleges you're interested in. At some time, they could be requesting more information from you. But this FAFSA form is what the colleges and universities are eventually going to utilize to determine what you're able to receive and send you what we call a financial aid offer on there. All right. Going back, that was just kind of a quick, and I don't have it listed on there, but when you're going to get financial aid offers from colleges and universities are really going to vary from school to school. In general, here in the state of Iowa, um, a lot our three regent schools, Iowa, Iowa State, and UNI, they'll generally start sending out financial aid offers in February, even if you get it in now in February. A lot of our community colleges, it can be March or April before you may receive those. Our private schools here in the state of Iowa, there are some that may get it out by Thanksgiving or Christmas time and continue on in the year as they're receiving those. I think that's just giving you a general idea. If you want to know when to expect those, I would check with each individual college on that, because if you're expecting a financial aid offer, you did the FAFSA and you think you should get one in February, and now it's March, the reason you might not have one is because you are missing information that the college had asked for. You might have missed the communication in whatever way, but they need that information before they can send it out to you. So get an idea on when that is. Ask each college or university when they can expect the financial aid offers to be sent to you. All right. That is all the information I wanted to share tonight. Again, last call out for any questions that you may have in there. One more time, I want to thank our step-by-step partners for being a part of this: the Iowa Department of Education, Bureau of Iowa College Aid, IASFA, the Iowa Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators, which I'm also a proud member of. I really appreciate all of our partners tonight that have been a part of this. I even forgot to add a couple on this slide, like I had on the very beginning. Besides Joanne, Mary, and Rachel and Sarah, thank you, Jen and Taylor as well, for being a part of this tonight and answering questions. I can see that there has been a ton of those, and that is our phone number, and again, website at ICAN. If you want the help in filling out the form, even if you start it yourself, you can save it and you're having trouble, set up an appointment with us and we'd be happy to help you fill out that FAFSA form too. All right. Again, one more last call before I end this webinar. And for those of you that are watching the recording, obviously you can end it and you've got our number there to be able to contact us with any questions that you might have. So just taking a look. All right. Not seeing any last questions now, but I will again, our number, our website. Feel free to contact us if you have questions later on. Thank you again to all of our financial aid experts for answering the questions online. We hope good luck in filling out this FAFSA form, and we hope no matter where a student is, the high school seniors going on to college or continuing college students, whoever's doing this, that you have a great 26-27 school year wherever you go off to college then. So thank you for being a part of this, and have a great rest of your fall. Thank you.